tinydog here with some tips on how you can create a decorative stripe or border around your building in ARK. So you see here I've got these stripes that I have put around my castle. So obviously I am ghosting. I'm in admin mode on my own server so that I don't have to worry about scaffolding and things like that. Now, the castle I'm working on is built primarily using the Castles, Keeps, and Forts architecture mod because I like the look of the windows and some of the structural options it has as opposed to the stock ARK structures. As a result, some of the ways that the structures snap together are going to be different than they would be with the regular ARK structures, the walls and ceilings. But I'll show you some of those differences later on. So let's come over here and extend this border, this stripe right here. The technique I'm using involves a stone fence foundation, a regular stone fence foundation, ARK style. Now there are a couple of different reasons why the Castles, Keeps, and Forts architecture mod is perfect for creating buildings to use with these decorative fence foundation stripes or borders. First of all, if the fence foundation is snapped into the correct position, the wall completely hides the spikes on both sides. The top block of the fence foundation is visible. That's your decorative border, your pinstripe, whatever. But the spikes that stick down from the foundations get hidden in the wall. Secondly, are the different types of windows that you have available in the Castles, Keeps, and Forts mod. These are called single lancet windows. These are called double lancet windows. There are also triple lancet windows and bay windows and other sorts of windows, and it's really a slick-looking mod. But the reason why these are useful is in terms of the what we're doing here is because the double lancet window perfectly hides the middle spike and the side spikes from the fence foundation above if you have a window directly below it. So if I open up the glass here so you can see through it, you see the spikes are completely hidden. If I take, let's say, a single lancet window and place it there, it's going to have a spike sticking down into it. Now, depending on what you're doing, you might want a spike sticking down into the middle of your window, but most likely probably not. Similarly, if I use a triple lancet window, it's going to have a spike sticking down into the middle of the window. So whenever I have these fence foundations located around my castle, if it's over the top of a window, I always change the window to a double lancet. That way the spikes are hidden, because I don't want to see spikes. Change the appearance and the opacity. There we go. Let's take a look at the inventory. And so here I'm actually using the no collision stone fence foundations. So this is the NC stone fence foundations are from the no collisions mod. And the reason why I need to use those is because if I try to place a regular fence foundation in a lot of these situations, they'll register as being obstructed because I'm trying to place them over the top of existing walls, and they don't like that. So let's try to place a fence foundation. So if we go to the other side of this wall, you see there are ceilings here, here, here. And the difference in coloring here, these are both Castles, Keeps, and Forts mod ceilings, but you can change the appearance. So if I long press on that and select sandstone, then it changes the appearance of the ceiling to look like sandstone. And so this over here is obsidian, I think. But now their alignment may be slightly different. I noticed there's a couple pixels there where the obsidian looks more raised than the frosty. And so what you'll see if we try to place a fence foundation is where the obsidian ceiling is on the other side of the wall. It says no ground or snap point, so it doesn't have anything to snap. It doesn't think it has anything to snap to. But then if we move over here where the frosty foundations are, again, it's the same structure type. It's just the alignment is slightly different based on where it's snapped in the building. Here we get nothing. We get no snap points at all. Similarly, if we go up here where there's no ceilings on the other side of the wall, it doesn't register anything at all. So if we come down here, try to place it, we can't. So what you can do is come over here to where your ceiling is, and over the top of it place a regular ARK stone ceiling. Or in my case, I'm using an S+ stone ceiling, not because of its different snapping characteristics, but because the S+ ceilings you can pick up. And I'm actually not going to leave this ceiling here. I'm going to pick it up after I'm done with it. All I need to use it for is a snap point. Let's place our ceiling. And now if we go to the other side of the wall, we get a green snap point. Boom. Now, the spikes that stick down from the bottom of the fence foundation, you may or may not like that. What you'll find if you do this sort of border is that it seems sometimes like every snap is unique and presents its own challenges. So sometimes they stick out too far, sometimes they don't stick out far enough and you can't actually see the foundation. Sometimes, try as you might, the foundation snaps to some other place on your building, even though you're pointing it right here. And we'll explore some of those later. So that's sticking out a little far. So let me go ahead and try that again. So look at the green ghost there. Okay, so no matter what I do, it's showing the spikes sticking out through the wall. So let's go inside and see what we can see. I find that usually I get the best results by positioning myself above and behind the stone ceiling so that the border I want to put the fence foundation on is on the left. That's usually where I get the best results. So if we go ahead and try to place it here, okay. Okay, so I should mention, if you don't already know, let's go out here to where there's some regular stone ceilings. When you're placing an ARK fence foundation on an ARK ceiling or an S+ ceiling, there are 3 potential snap points on any given side. So so look at the square of this ceiling that I'm looking at. Right now, the fence foundation is snapped to the inside edge of the ceiling. If I move a little bit, you'll see now it's going to snap in the middle, right in between the 2 ceilings. And then if I move a little more, maybe if I shift over, if I move a little more, you'll see that now it's snapping to the inside edge of the next ceiling over. So you've got 3 potential snap points where there's a ceiling junction, a ceiling joint. Now, when you've only got 1 ceiling, you have the potential for up to 2 snap points, the inside edge and the middle, the edge. So, if we go back in here, and try to place our, okay, so that is actually the inside, okay, so we've got some multiple snap points going on here. There's one that's really inside, and then there's one that's a couple pixels out from that. So let's go ahead and snap that down, or place that, and see what happened. Okay, it's not even visible from the outside. So that snap point was too far on the inside. Okay, so, so very momentary. Okay, so right there you see it looks like it's stuck pretty far out. You can barely see the green outline. So if I place that, look at that. That was perfect. We get our border, or our line, without the spikes sticking down. So you have to fiddle with it, and you'll find that you'll have to fiddle with it a lot because basically every time you place one of these things, it behaves a little differently. For example, let me pick up this stone ceiling now that I'm done with that border and try to place the next one. So let's put our stone ceiling down, and then boom, that one was very straightforward. No problem. And so now we can pick this up. Okay, now let's say that I want to place a border where there's no ceiling on the other side. So let's go up a couple walls here. So here, there is no ceiling. All right, so I try to place my foundation. I cannot. All right, so I go ahead and put my temporary ceiling down on the inside. And then I go out here and try to place my fence foundation, which worked just fine. But then when I remove this ceiling again, it's going to destroy the fence foundation, because there has to be at least one ceiling that the fence foundation can attach to. It doesn't have to be an ARK one. It can be another one. It can be a Structures Plus one. It can be a Castles, Keeps, and Forts one. But it has to be a ceiling that the fence foundation is connected to. So how do you deal with that? How do you get a border without having a ceiling there? Well, it is possible, thanks to a trick that was actually relayed to me by my daughter. Very brilliant trick. So check this out. So we put our stone ceiling on the inside, and then on the outside, you can put it on the inside or the outside, but then what we put down is a Structures Plus S Plus glass ceiling. Okay, it has to be a Structures Plus glass ceiling, because, and I will show you why. I mean, there may be another mod that has an equivalent structure, but in this case I'm using Structures Plus. So we place it somewhere that it's not going to interfere with anybody's walking or getting around. So this is up on the wall where nobody's ever going to go. And I think that's the right one, yeah. So now I've got my S Plus ceiling on the outside. So I'm going to go ahead and place the fence foundation there. Oops. Nope, that was too far out. There. That looks like it's about perfect. Remove the temporary stone ceiling. And then, voila, the magic happens. You long press on the S Plus glass ceiling, go to Select Model, and then select No Sides. And what that does, because there are no reflective effects or anything in the S Plus glass ceiling, it's just completely transparent, it becomes invisible, completely invisible. And so you have the appearance of a border with no ceiling, even though if we approach it, the ceiling is actually still there. The invisible glass wall trick was absolutely perfect, and an absolutely perfect application for this octagonal tower here, where I have a stairwell on the inside that I couldn't block with ceilings, but the walls themselves are straight walls, they're not curved. And so I was able to put the borders around them using invisible glass ceilings, which you can see all around here. Now, unfortunately, the round walls, there's no such thing as a round stone fence foundation, and so as a result I did not have any way to make a border around these guys. But any of the straight walls I certainly can. Whenever my border encountered the balcony of, or an overhang or something, where there was a ceiling sticking out halfway from the main portion of the building, I simply changed the ceiling texture to the gray stone, so that it gives the appearance of continuing the stripe when in fact it's just a ceiling. And unfortunately it changes the appearance of that ceiling with respect to the other ceilings in the area, but my main focus, my primary focus in this project is the external appearance of the castle. So long as the outside looks right, that's the main thing. Now here we have a situation where the crazy snap points of stone fence foundations are going to cause a problem. So let's say I want to continue this border right here under between these two windows. So I go inside. I've already got a ceiling in there, which is fine. I put down my temporary ARK or S+ ceiling. And when I try to place my stone fence foundation, it won't snap. It keeps snapping to something up above. So if I come around the corner and try to do the same, well, it looks like I might get a snap point there. Let's see. See, that one worked, which is good. But this one, not so much. And so if I try to snap it from the inside, it may or may not let me. See, it's not giving me. It's not letting me snap. Now, there are some situations where, particularly if you have a roof, or if you have a ceiling up above like this, or if you have sometimes one of these gable end walls that are part of the Castles, Keeps, and Forts mod, or sometimes like arched arches like this or whatever, they grab onto your fence foundation and like force it to snap to it. Even if, like, let's say I was down here and and I was trying to snap this, it still might end up snapping way on the top of the roof, even though I'm not pointed anywhere near the top of the roof. So if you ever encounter a situation like that, you very well may need to destroy or get rid of the whatever structure is above you that's grabbing it. Which, I mean, in order to make all of these borders, I had to destroy a bunch of structures that I already had up above, like roofs, and even these whole gray side towers here I had to rebuild from scratch because the borders weren't snapping. They weren't cooperating. So let's go ahead and get rid of this roof, which then destroyed half the rest of my roof. Get rid of the ceiling. Now what I found is that it's typically, unless you have a bunch of structures at weird angles that aren't snapped to each other, it's typically only structures directly above what you're trying to snap that cause a problem. So once I get rid of the ceiling, like for example this wall, this angled wall right here, is not going to cause a problem. So now that I've gotten rid of the roof and the ceiling, I can come down and there's my border. And I wonder, now that I've gotten rid of that, as a matter of fact, let me get rid of this. Let's see what it does. Alright, let's see if I can get rid of that little nub right there, that spike sticking down. Well, try from the inside. I can see just a barely little sliver of green ghost there. Nah, so it looks like I'm stuck with the spike on that particular wall, which I also see over here in the corner. Okay, so now that I've placed my border, I go ahead and remove my temporary ceiling per usual, and then I can replace my pieces that I got rid of earlier. Change it to frosty, put my ceiling back. And there you go. I also encountered situations where the stone fence foundation wanted to snap to the inside edge of the temporary stone ceiling, and only the inside edge. I couldn't get it to snap farther out, and so it was never visible from outside the building. And so the workaround I came up with for that is, now I don't know if it will actually exhibit that behavior here, but I'm just going to show you the technique. So if I try to place my, okay, so here we're getting our 2 snap points, which is good. But in a lot of cases, like sometimes you'll find, even if it shows you the green ghost outline for the correct snap point, when you click, it actually places it inside. And what I found that would usually help me get around that limitation is putting another temporary wall on the... I have no idea where that went. Okay. Let's try that again. Putting another temporary wall on the outside, I'm sorry, another temporary ceiling on the outside of the wall, so that it's butted up against the ceiling on the inside of the wall, and that should allow you to get your 3 snap points, your inside, your middle, and then the inside of the other ceiling. But you don't want to snap it to the inside of the outside ceiling, because number 1, you'll have big spikes, and number 2, because it's snapped to the outside ceiling, it will probably, well, maybe it won't be destroyed, but sometimes it will. Yeah, okay. In this case, it stayed stuck to the existing structure, but a lot of times it will be destroyed. I set up a little test area out here with regular ARK structures to see how the fence foundations respond to the regular stone walls and ceilings. So here we've got our tiny half building. We've got a second floor here with ceilings. Now we know that we need ceilings to snap the stone fence foundations to. So if I remove this, and then I try to put a fence foundation on it, it doesn't have anything to snap to. Whereas over here, where there's the ceiling, on the other side it does. So let's put our ceiling back, and now we've got our snap point. So I see from the green ghost outline that the spikes are going to be visible on the outside of the wall. Now the ARK walls, I think, are thinner than the castles, keeps, and forts mod walls, and so they're going to behave differently. So if we place this, sure enough, we see sort of ratty spikes sticking down through the stones. Another feature of the stock ARK structures is that they're quite rough. You know, the texture is varied, like they're made of actual stones, whereas the castles and keeps models are quite smooth. They just have different textures mapped on them. So let's see if we can get this to... Now, one thing I did notice is that the roof here did not interfere with it. It didn't like try to snap up there. So that's good at least. Let's see if we can get that sitting in a better place so that those spikes aren't visible. Okay, so that looks like it's kind of far out there. Can I snap it to the inside? Doesn't want to let me do that. Let's try it over here. Okay, so here I'm getting a couple different snap points. I've got inside, I've got middle. Now the middle is what gives you the visible spikes on the outside of the wall. The inside gives you nothing. Well, it gives you a window bar, which actually, now that I think of it, you could put to use as like a prison cell or something, but not really what we were going for. Doesn't provide us with a decorative border. Also, since there's only one window type in the regular ARK structures, the boring stone square, you're very limited. You can't have a border over your window or the spike will stick down through it. So it looks like the only, option you really have for the borders with regular ARK stone structures, or S+, or NC, no collision, any of the above will behave the same way, is to have the spikes visible on the outside. Now that could look cool. I mean, they maybe look like icicles, or I mean, they're dark, so they don't really look like icicles, but they kind of drip down. So I mean, you can make it a design element if you wish, but if all you want is a simple horizontal border, you're not going to be able to get that with the stock structures, while you can with the castles, keeps, and forts. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, then feel free to like and subscribe. And as always, happy ARKing!